I am Alessia, a Queen Zoo Discovery Guide, and today we will be discussing wetlands, the problems they face, and how you can help. Wetlands are ecosystems found right here in New York City, consisting of water, a special soil, and hydrophytes, or water-loving plants. They act as a bridge between land and water ecosystems, and are composed of land flooded with water. Wetlands are very important to both us and our environment. They take care of our water by cleaning and storing it after it rains, which prevents floods and recharges groundwater. They also control erosion, which is the breakdown of land and rocks by wind and water, through slowing down strong waters. Wetlands provide shelter for animals such as fish larvae, birds, and frogs. The shallow, calm waters provide the perfect spot for a nursery for newborn fish and tadpoles. Wetlands help communities by providing food for livestock, as the variety of grasses growing in wetlands are great meals for cows and other animals that like to graze. Along with grasses, a variety of plants, animals, and insects call wetlands their home, protecting the biodiversity of an area. Lastly, wetlands provide recreation and are a great place to go with your family on nature walks and picnics.
While wetlands may sound new to you, they actually work just like some items you can find in your home. See if you can find them in your home as we show them to you. Let's start with a pillow. Now, just like we use pillows to fall asleep after a long day, migrating birds go to wetlands after long journeys across continents to get some shut-eye. Next, we have soap. Now, wetlands are similar to soap because they can clean out pollution with rainwater, just like soap gets rid of our germs. Next, you have any whisk in your kitchen? Wetlands function like a whisk because whisks mix ingredients around to make a cake, just as wetlands mix salt and fresh water to create a brackish or slightly salty habitat. Next, here is a flower pot. Wetlands provide a protective shelter for other animals, just as this pot provides a protected space for my seeds to grow into flowers. And finally, here is a strainer. Now, a strainer in the kitchen is used for getting liquids out of ingredients, whereas soil in the wetlands filters out or removes pollutants.
As you can see, wetlands are very valuable to both us and the environment. We must do our part to protect them, and this starts with identifying how they are being harmed. Unfortunately, wetlands are currently facing many threats. The draining of wetlands for land to build farms and cities, which involves taking all the water in them and transporting it elsewhere, is one of these threats. In many wetlands that have been drained, cost-benefit analysis never took place, which is a determination of whether the downsides of the loss of a wetland were greater than the benefits to development. Similarly, the costs of filling wetlands to create housing, highways, and factories are not typically measured after development has occurred. Wetlands are simply seen as cheap land to be bought up and built on. However, the loss of wetlands has huge effects on communities, including the loss of plant and animal diversity, a decline in the water supply and storage of water, a decrease in water quality, a decline in recreational activities, problems with mosquitoes, an increase in weeds. The list goes on and on. While it is true that our society requires economic development, we must do so sustainably to protect our communities and wildlife. Not only are people destroying wetlands, but they are also severely damaging them through dredging, which is the removal of mud and weeds from shoreline wetlands to create harbors. In addition, cottagers and waterfront owners have cleared shoreline vegetation for docks and cleanup purposes. The destruction of vegetation has resulted in habitat loss and the loss of shelter for the young of many species. Without vegetation, the shores are more vulnerable to erosion due to wave action and runoff. Lastly, air and water pollution contribute to the disruption and potential destruction of balanced wetland ecosystems. The addition of pesticides, industrial and municipal wastes, acid rain, and other pollutants result in the death of plants and wildlife. In the end, water covers more than 2/3 of Earth's surface. It is the basis of all life in this world, and without it, nothing lives or grows. Living things, including humans, need clean water to survive, and that is where wetlands play a vital role.
Today, I will be building a model wetland out of materials you can find at home and in your yard. My materials were a rectangular fish tank, a small needlepoint canvas, large rocks, gravel, soil, plants, dead leaves, and fresh leaves. I used a small rectangular fish tank, but you can use whatever clear containers you have at home. I cut a needlepoint canvas to a size just larger than the tank and taped down the shorter ends of the canvas to the edges of the long side of the container. The canvas is going to represent permeable rock. Underneath the canvas is going to be our groundwater, and above the canvas is our wetland. To build my wetland, I first layered on large rocks, then small rocks, then our soil, then plants of your choice, then fresh and dry leaves. Our wetland is complete, and now we can demonstrate how it works. Let's start by imagining we just had a huge thunderstorm, and rain flows over our sidewalks and soil, picking up sediments and pollution with it. Luckily for us, the water flows into a wetland before it moves into water bodies like rivers and streams, so they are kept healthy and clean. As water enters the wetland, it is first slowed by spreading out over the thick vegetation, preventing erosion and protecting our homes and ecosystems from flooding. Sediment that makes the water cloudy along with toxic metals fall to the wetland bottom to cling to the plant roots, and nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus are absorbed by plants and microorganisms. The wetland then slowly releases clean water, just as my model does, to recharge groundwater for you and me to drink. But what happens when excessive pollution coats our sidewalks and roads? Heavy rain flows over sidewalks and soil, but this time picks up pesticides and fertilizers from a lawn, pet waste, oils and greases from cars, and the salts from the roads. With all this pollution to filter and take up, the plant and chemical processes of our wetland break down and lose their ability to store and filter water. Many plants and animals that call wetlands their home are harmed in the process. For example, excess nitrogen and phosphorus from fertilizers and waste causes rapid growth of algae in wetlands, known as algal blooms. These block out sun for underwater plants, causing them to die off, and the decomposing bacteria suck up oxygen from the water, making the water incapable of holding life. In addition, the salts we put out on our roads before snow harm our wetlands as well, increasing the salinity or saltiness of their waters. Many plants and animals can only survive at certain salt level, and a change can kill necessary parts of this ecosystem. Let's talk about car oils as well. When they enter our ecosystems with runoff, they can float on the surface of the water. This prevents oxygen and sunlight from entering the water, causing death to fish and underwater plants that depend on these resources. We need your help to prevent pollution from destroying our valuable wetlands. Let's keep our wetlands clean.
While the wildlife in wetlands are being harmed, there are many ways you can help them. One of the easiest things you can do is not litter, especially when at parks and green spaces. Place your trash in the correct bins to keep the environment clean. As a reminder, you can usually throw bottles and cans in blue trash bins, non-recyclable trash like styrofoam and clothing in brown bins, and mixed paper and cardboards in green bins. Not only will you prevent the waste from building up in the homes of animals and plants of your local park, you'll also stop it from being picked up by the rain and ending up in valuable wetlands like marshes and swamps. To even more directly protect wetlands, make sure that the surfaces near storm drains are free from fertilizers, pet waste, and car oil, which can enter wetlands after heavy storms. 2. You can remind your guardian to use phosphate-free laundry and dishwasher detergents. Phosphates that are typically in these products run off into bodies of water and promote algae growth, just as the sewage and fertilizers previously discussed do. 3. Work with your guardian to buy and use products that are non-toxic, especially for cleaning and lawn care, which can easily enter a water supply and run off into the environment after use. Many regular cleaners have damaging chemicals, some of which can cause reproductive harm to animals that live in the waters they pollute. If your lawn does need to be sprayed, try your best to avoid rainy and windy days where they're more likely entering waters than helping your garden. Another sustainable choice you can make is buying unbleached recycled paper over bleached paper. Paper is actually light brown, and in order to get the white color we know, it must be bleached, commonly with the compound chlorine dioxide. Unfortunately, the chlorine is deposited into water bodies near mills. Here, it reacts to organic matter and forms dioxins. Dioxins are known to cause problems in the immune system and reproductive development, and block the normal functioning of hormones. Buying unbleached paper can protect animals of the lakes, ponds, and wetlands from this harm. While wetlands have the function of filtering water, there are many other purposes that wetlands have. Wetlands are home to many species of animals, including alligators, snakes, turtles, and birds. Similarly, zoos are also homes to many species of animals that are not limited to just wetland animals. At zoos, we can see tigers, sea lions, or flamingos, which we don't typically see in wetlands. The mission of the Queen Zoo is to protect wildlife and inspire the next generation of zoologists and conservationists. Wetlands may not have a mission, but it does a great job at protecting its animal species by providing food and habitats. Both wetlands and zoos are very diverse, with many animal species that play a key role in the diversity of our Earth. Both zoos and wetlands can function as research spaces, where scientists and researchers can gather further information on plants and animals. New studies can help further conservation and protection efforts in wildlife, as well as help educators inform the public about these efforts and how everyone can play a role in protecting our favorite plants and animals.
Hi, my name is Brianna and I'm here to talk to you about how to protect your local wetlands. Individual actions have a major impact on conservation, but legislation is just as important in preventing corporations and businesses from interfering with natural wildlife. Laws and bills enact change for long periods of time on a greater scale. In 2017, the Latimer Bill was introduced. This bill calls for updated wetland mapping and allows the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation to protect smaller wetlands, as opposed to current law that only protects areas greater than 12.4 acres or have unusual local importance. The Latimer Bill places more wetlands under regulation, preserving them for wildlife and human population. Support this bill by emailing co-sponsors and voting aye on the website to make your voice heard. Other ways to help our wetlands include emailing your representative and seeing what legislation is being passed in your area.